Social media professional development, assignment number 6. What we're talking about this time is we're going to move on to a very important aspect of something that's going to become more important the higher up you go in psychology, and that is the idea of mentorship. So mentorship, as defined by Chase Jarvis, a mentor is simply a person who gives guidance, engages in supportive dialogue, and becomes a professional role model to a person who's less experienced. So it's basically somebody that can help you along the way as you're kind of going through this really open-ended career path, that is psychology. So I got that from Creative Calling by Chase Jarvis. And in there, he mentions a very specific type of mentor, a type of mentor that has not been available before, the current age. And that is the idea of creating your own mentor. So not all of us have resources or have access to an actual physical person that can mentor us. So I do have mentorship relationships with some of my students, but I just can't do it with all of my students. So there is this almost lack of mentors. But one thing that you can do in this age is you can make your own mentor. And what Chase Jarvis mentions is that everybody wants this mentor, that wise little green creature who will teach us how to swing a lightsaber and use the Force. Everybody wants their Yoda to help them become, the Jedi Knight that they can be. But if you don't have access to a real live individual, one thing that you can do, and even if you do have access to that individual, one thing that you can do is you can create what's called a Franken-Mentor. And a Franken-Mentor is just made up not only of books, but also of the words of advice from many different people that you've met along the way. So it's literally a collection of individuals that you follow their advice, you follow their content, you follow their output, and you use them to kind of put together this piece-by-piece mentor that can help you in your professional development. So we're going to do that for this step 6. We're going to create a Franken-Mentor from 3 Twitter accounts. So I'm asking you to begin to piece together this individual that can give you guidance on your career, and you can do it from 3 different accounts. So to find these accounts, you can either Google accounts on advice for this, advice for that, and you can see some of the Twitter accounts that are dedicated to that. Or you can start to kind of just explore individuals, professionals, and this is really open-ended. It can even include people outside of psychology. In fact, I would recommend that you find people outside of psychology because sometimes they can give you the greatest insights into how to be productive within psychology. So my best example of that is actually Chase Jarvis. So he is one of the pieces of my Franken-Mentor. And if you follow my Twitter account, you will have realized that a lot of it is just the Chase Jarvis show because I find his advice massively helpful. Now, he is a photographer by profession. He's not a psychologist at all, but he has a lot of advice on how to be creative. He has a lot of advice on how to pursue a productive creative career. He has a lot of advice for pursuing a career where the answer is not defined. And that is what research is. Research is going out into the open, not knowing exactly what you're trying to do, and looking for an answer, and maybe you'll find it, maybe you won't, but it's definitely not a cookie cutter type of job. Photography isn't either, and I just find the advice that he gives to other creatives about how to be the best photographer or creative person that they can just to mesh so well with what I'm doing in terms of research that I made him one of my pieces of my Franken-Mentor. Another person that I follow, another piece is Seth Godin. So Seth Godin is this really innovative thinker that kind of takes apart what is going on in our society, looks for the cracks, and looks for the important things to remember. So he writes a daily blog. It's usually just 2 to 3 short paragraphs. And for example, today's blog was about saying yes to everything and how that's a horrible, horrible strategy for which to live your life, because if you say yes to everything, you are literally saying yes to nothing. So again, just great little pieces of advice to kind of steer you on your career path. Another person, Brene Brown, great advice on how to deal with anxiety, on how to basically fulfill your potential. Another one that I follow, Franken-Mentor Tim Ferriss, very innovative thinker on how to get the most out of your time. So one of his books, one of his first bestsellers, The 4-Hour Work Week, was basically a book about how to cut everything out of your work schedule that is not being productive. He's actually probably my best hope to get my email under control, because he advocates a once a week checking your email system. So I'm going to try that real soon. But again, pieces of advice that you can use to to go on your path. One that I will recommend, so these are just the ones, these are just examples, these are just parts of my Franken-Mentor, but one that I will recommend for you at this stage in your career is this one, Hugh Kearns at I Think Well Hugh. And this one actually has a lot of advice specifically for graduate students. So getting into a graduate program, being part of a graduate program, being part of that culture, there's a lot of things that go with that. And he oftentimes has really insightful advice about how to work with a supervisor, what sort of skills you should bring to the table, what kind of pitfalls to look out for, how to deal with imposter syndrome, all these sort of things that are very important to knowing how to be a grad student, taking an active role in your education rather than a passive role. All great pieces of advice. This is the only one where I would say, this is probably a good one at your stage in this part in your career. And again, your advice can come from anywhere. So Neil Gaiman, he's an author. He wrote Sandman. He wrote Stardust, got turned into a movie. He wrote Coraline. He wrote Good Omens. He wrote like classics in fantasy literature. And he also has just great advice on how to approach work and just, trying to be the best version that you can be. So again, not a psychologist, but very helpful to kind of steer your career path. So that's what we're doing. 3 individuals from any walk of life that you think might be giving you helpful advice to become part of your Franken-Mentor. As usual, send me a screenshot of your following via Canvas, and I'll upload that to Step 6 Franken-Mentor. And again, that's in Canvas Social Media Professional Development, the Step 6 Franken-Mentor.